This weather pattern is about to do a big shift. A major shift is coming twice. Now remember, last weekend I showed you in the data how this heat is coming for the beginning of September, even as we're going into a roller coaster for September, because right after this big heat ridge, we have another cool front coming through. In fact, you can see the latest tropical update with Invest 96L. It has downgraded, showing that the Euro is correct. It's going towards dry air and wind shear and is going to weaken down. Now, as we go into the very beginning of September, right after this heat ridge and this cool front comes through, this is going to bring a trough on through like this. Now, this is going to bring cooler air. It's still going to be warmer across the southeast. It's not going all the way towards northern Florida or anything. But while this tropical wave makes its way towards the southeast, it's going to try and form something up as it's getting pushed out through the east into the Atlantic, still showing no threat by those standards. Now we're going to start off in the tropics. For one, we have Invest 96L, and you can see with the ensembles showing this going towards that west-northwest. Now it's going to encounter shear, but this tropical wave is still going to be traveling as it goes further towards the west. Literally, once we go past 5 days, showing no chances for formation with the main deterministic weather models. But I'm still showing a trend where this is going to remain weak all the way towards this point. Then it could intensify and go right back out through the east as we're getting this frontal pattern. So first, the latest tropical update, then we'll go through your severe weather, then your temperatures. Now you can see right here with National Hurricane Center that Invest 96L has gone down to 60% chance in the next 48 hours, 60% in the next 7 days, just to form a tropical depression. Showing it will form a tropical depression, be short-lived more than likely, maybe going in and out as it goes further on that west-northwest track. But still, we need to watch it for later on, as it might get front induced, a little more convection, and go out back through the east-northeast. And you can see from National Hurricane Center that as it goes further towards the west, the environmental conditions are forecast to become less favorable by this weekend, potentially ending its chances for development. But once again, this is where we're probably going to get it picked up right back again, right here by the Bahamas. Still not showing any impacts, any threats for anyone. It's just the latest update. So you can see this when you check for chances for a tropical depression. It actually has gone down. So for the next 72 hours, going right past 4 days, showing chances of 50 up to 60% chance of a tropical depression. But literally as it goes 5 to 6 days, this is where it starts weakening down, going towards that west-northwest, encountering shear. Now, after the shear, there will be a pocket right here where the dry air and the shear will not be. So for a short time, it could get itself back together. So you can see as you go further, you can see the chances literally disappear, and it's not showing a good chance at all. So it's going to be encountering dry air and shear. There is a pocket where it gets away from the shear, but then there's going to be dry air. Now, once again, this is going 7 and 8 days down the road, so I will keep you updated. So as we look with the hurricane models, you can see here with the H-Wharf, as it goes further towards the west, see how it goes in and out of that low pressure, where it goes from strengthening to weakening because of the shear. And then you can see ultimately as we go 5 days towards the Leeward Islands, Lesser Antilles, nothing is there. Now I know y'all are below average on precipitation. I know you could use some tropical moisture, but it's showing very weak and then further towards the north. Showing on the latest run, you can see this as you look at your precipitable water, as you literally go past 2 to 3 days, here's your tropical wave. But if you take a look at the wind shear, you can see it's starting to get shear already on the northern side of it. And look what it's going towards. When we have a strong El Nino like this, literally the Caribbean becomes a graveyard for these tropical systems. So as it moves further towards the west, it gets hit with that shear and it weakens down to pretty much nothing. Even the wave right behind it, as you go 6 and 7 days, that weakens down to nothing as well. There's a lot of shear right there that is stopping any of that westward movement. So here's the latest trend. You have the Euro coming through, weakening down into nothing, just a tropical wave, and later on not getting itself back together. You go by the latest GFS. In a great agreement with the Euro that this is going to weaken down and go further towards the west. Not showing tropical development afterwards, but still afterwards is past 6 to 7 days. So once again, it's a very low possibility, but I am watching it just in case. Because you can see here on the ensembles, this is the European in the red, showing that going further towards that westward push. But literally, once you go towards the 2nd of September, this is where it starts making that turn if it gets itself back together. And at the same time, you can still see that other group showing it going further towards the west. Now, you can see how much different this is than yesterday. Yesterday, there was a big confidence with this AI model, the Google Minds. Now it's all over the place. But it is seeing it with the Euro as well, with those red ones, showing a possibility, maybe a pocket for later. Once again, this is a very low possibility. So when you go by those, you can actually see it right here. So as this goes further towards the west, still more likely going to turn out by that troughing coming through, given that weak ridge to the high pressure. Remember the forecast. But if these do start to do anything further towards the west, you have the Euro in the red, you have Google Minds in the blue. And you can see as you go by September 3rd and 4th, that would literally go right back around out through the east, northeast. But the trend that I'm seeing, you can see this with the Euro ensemble. So as we go past the weakening phase, it could strengthen right back up as we go literally 7-8 days away as it tries to make its way towards a greater Antilles. Showing no matter what, if it does, more likely will, it will go out through the east, northeast on some frontal interaction. This going towards the Gulf, I would not believe that, everybody. That is one ensemble out of 50 showing that. But like I said, there is a new trend. So look at this. This is a Canadian. The Canadians showed the weakness with the Euro as well yesterday. And look how it stays weak, goes towards the greater Antilles. And then as we go literally 7 and 8 days, shows it could strengthen up right there by the Bahamas as it goes out through that east-northeast push from this cold front that's coming through after this heat wave. You can also see this on the GEOS satellite. This is our dust satellite showing as we go towards 5 days. You can see the weakening going under the radar. But then you can see it finally gets itself together. It gets away from that shear as you go 7 days and starts strengthening up going towards that westward push. This right here is a little concerning. Now, it's not showing a lot more dependable models, so we'll keep my eyes open to this, just keeping this in a factor. Because you can even see this with the latest AI model as well, showing as this goes further towards the west, it could get itself back together once it gets past that shear and go out through the east. And this is with the GFS AI ensemble. So once again, there is still a little signal there, so I will keep you updated. So far, not showing any threat, nothing to worry about, everybody. Now, before I go through your latest weather pattern update with your temperatures, what you can expect around the corner after this heat wave, I'm going to go through your severe weather real quick. We do have the chances for tornadoes, high winds, and large hail. Now, you can see for yesterday, we didn't get any threats for any reports for tornadoes. It was wind gusts, and hail. Now for today is going to be wind again, even chances for 75 miles per hour wind gusts. If you're in the slight risk, you have chances for up to 50, maybe even isolated 60 miles per hour wind gusts for today. So here's your cities and states at risk for the wind threat for today. Also is bringing a hail threat, a lot in the same locations, especially right here over Colorado, Wyoming, western Nebraska. This is chances for up to 2 inches in diameter of hail. So here's your cities and states at risk for the hail threat for today. And we still have that tornado threat, which has downgraded. It had a 5% over here over northern Indiana. It's showing more of a wind threat, but you still have that tornado threat. You have a 2%. So here's your cities and states at risk for a possible spin up for today. So you can see with the latest run with HRRR, as we get around 6 and 7 o'clock, this is where everything really starts sparking up. You get it revolving around the 4 corners all the way towards Idaho, western Montana. You get some storms forming up for eastern New Mexico, eastern Colorado, a little bit of southeastern Wyoming. Also over here for Arkansas, northern Louisiana, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. And you get a lot of storms brewing up for Florida as well. But over here for northern Michigan, for the thumb of Michigan, also for what builds up from Indiana going into Ohio. This is where you get your storm threat, showing a lot less of a threat. But you see these other storms are bringing a lot of winds with them as well as you go through the evening, everybody. Now you can see literally once you get around 8:45 To me, this is where your best time to get a spin up over here for northern Indiana, northwestern Ohio, if there were to be one. Otherwise, it's going to weaken down and just be a wind threat. Then as you go through later on this evening and for tomorrow, you see these storms come across not only from Colorado, they start going through western Kansas into Oklahoma as well as you go through for tomorrow morning. You also get some storms brewing over here for eastern Texas, going through Louisiana, through northern Mississippi. That goes a little bit lower for tomorrow morning as well. So watch out. That could bring some frontal convection. It could bring some winds with that as that comes through for tomorrow. At the same time, look what sparks up for the northeast. So we get a lot of storms that brew up over here for Tennessee, Kentucky Valley, Alabama, Georgia, upstate South Carolina, western North Carolina. What brews up over here for the northeast going through New England is where you could get another threat for a tornado. So around 4 or 5 p.m., northern New Jersey going through for New England, also through New York. This is where you get some storms coming through, showing a lot of frontal convection with that, where you could get a chance for a quick spin up. Also with some winds that come through that for tomorrow as well. So be aware of that. So you can see this here on the latest outlook for tomorrow. Chances for tornadoes, you do have a 2% for the northeast. So here's your cities and states at risk for a possible spin up. It will be a wind threat again. Also over here for the central U.S., chances for 75 miles per hour wind gusts again. So here's your cities and states at risk for the wind threat for tomorrow, for Thursday. Plus, let's go through our latest weather pattern information. So you can see this on your EPO, your East Pacific Oscillation. And we're still going towards that very high positive as we go towards the end of August into the very beginning of September. This is how my subscribers knew this heat wave was coming after this cool front. But at the same time, look at this here. Right after that heat wave, we still have this cool front that's coming right behind it as we go towards a negative EPO. And you can see it's going back and forth all through September. Just like I said on the previous video, it's going to be a roller coaster of temperatures. Also, you can look at the latest PNA, our Pacific North American pattern, the data. You see this big negative we're going into. This is trending with bringing a very cold trough along the west coast, bringing that high ridge towards that central and that east coast warming. This shows the same thing as having that positive EPO I just showed you. Now you can see as you go past the third into the fourth, that greatly weakens down towards a very weak negative, almost towards a neutral. So that troughing is going to retract back and it's going to start pushing through the central U.S., mostly around the Midwest, the Great Lakes, out through the Northeast, bringing that next cool front. And still showing as we go through the rest of September, right after that cool front comes through, a little bit of a warming phase, not much. Then the cooler air is really going to come through as we go through for the end of September. A lot of troughs of cooler air for the central and the eastern U.S., especially at the end of September. So this is what you can expect, just like I forecasted last weekend. So as we go into the end of August, we have that trough of cooler air coming through while we have that ridge building from the central to the eastern U.S., still bringing that big heat bubble for the south central as well. But when we go into the beginning of September, this is where the transition happens. Remember, we go all the way from that negative PNA towards that negative EPO. So this is a big change. This is where that front comes a little bit further from the 1st through the 3rd of September, brings frontal storms right here across the central U.S. while you still have the heating along the eastern U.S. But once you go from the 4th through the 8th, when you get that negative EPO, this is where everything pushes through with that next cool front. Now, once again, this will bring frontal storms along the south all the way towards the mid-Atlantic, and you will stay warmer across the southeast than anyone else. But there is that cool front still coming right behind this heat ridge, everybody. And you can see this here. So we have the high risk all the way to the 2nd of September, and it will stay somewhere around a slight risk all the way from the 2nd through the 8th. I think this is going to lower down. We're going to see that cool front coming through for the Midwest, going across the Great Lakes, out through the Ohio Valley. So it's going to bring that next cool front right after this heat dome. But at the same time, you're going to stay in that heat for everyone else. It's going to mild down a few degrees, but it's still going to be summer-like. So for this week, remember, you have the major impacts in the red, the extreme in the purple. The extreme is where you don't get any overnight relief. So as we go through for tomorrow and Friday, this is where it really kicks towards the southwest. South Central is still hot, but it's going to be a few degrees better. But remember, as we go towards the end of this month, this is where it comes back. So as we go towards Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, you can see the heat comes right back again. Even the extreme where you don't have no overnight relief for Texas going through Oklahoma, even Kansas and Arkansas. This is right on the 1st. So remember, a few days after this, we're going to see another cool front come through. So here's your latest updates on your temperatures for today. You have the 70s and the 80s, but over here across the south is still over 100, 105 degrees, all the way towards the 90s for the southeast, 90s for the northwest, and over 110, over 115 degrees for the southwest. Might even hit 120. Now, with our heat index value, is still going to feel very hot across Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, into Mississippi, even western Tennessee, southern Missouri. You're going to feel over 100, over 105 degrees, maybe even 110. Now for tonight until tomorrow morning, here's that cool front coming right back again, but the heat is coming back again for tomorrow. Now you're still very hot across the south. You're not widespread 105 to 110, but you're still very hot also across the southwest. And with our heat index value for tomorrow, you're still going to feel like over 100, 105 degrees for multiple places, everybody. Now for tomorrow night into the early morning for Friday, the cool front coming down again. But once again, here comes the heat coming back. And you can see how it's a little bit better across the south if you call this better, but it's still very hot. And with our heat indices, you still feel very hot as you go through for Friday. And as we go through for Sunday, this is the 30th of August. Now you can see the transition of the temperatures coming back, bringing those hundreds to 105 all the way north, potentially from Kansas into Nebraska. And with the heat indices, you could feel this even further north, South Dakota or Iowa. So just be aware of this heat coming back. But remember, there's going to be another cool front right afterwards. So for Monday morning, this is where you don't have no overnight relief. You're going to stay in the 80s all the way from Iowa all the way towards northern Texas. And you can see that cooler anomaly coming through for the west. So I will keep you updated on everything I spoke here in this video. Make sure you subscribe. Follow along for updates. It is weather. It will move around a little bit, but I will give you the most accuracy I can. Thank you for your time, everybody. Hope you have a very great day today. And remember, this is very important. It's still a very low chance. But once this gets away from this shear, we really need to pay attention to what this tropical wave is doing as it gets right here by the greater Antilles. I'm still showing it's going to curve out and not be a threat. But once again, this is still 7 to 8 days down the road. Things could still change, unfortunately. And before I go, a quick word from our Father, everybody. Proverbs 19:20 through 22. Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy later end. There are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord that shall stand. The desire of a man is his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. Amen. Have a great day, everybody. Remember, above all things, all glory does go to God, our Father in heaven, Yahweh. And I always hope he keeps you safe every single day of your life. And forever. Amen. Hallelujah. Amen. Have a great day, everybody. I will keep you updated. Remember, the data is never wrong.